Hello everyone and welcome to Chocolate Games match preview of the Conference League between AEK Larnaca and West Ham Utd. Gonzo, were you happy with the draw? When it was done, Larnaca come out followed by West Ham. Did you think that'll do us?
Yes, of course. Yeah, absolutely. I would rather that. I feel it was, well, it's sort of, I was going to, without being too cocky or confident, you're more likely to progress through against a lesser team. And also you sort of hope that David Moyes, had he have drawn one of the larger teams, might have been more inclined to play a strong team like he did against Manchester United. So I think from that point of view, particularly bearing in mind what he's just said, his reasons for losing against Brighton, I think you have to say that I was, I would have been pleased when that draw was made, and I was.
Yeah, there's possibly an air of arrogance when you discuss it, but I was the same as you. When it happened, I thought that's good. That's who I wanted. When you saw the possible teams, I thought, oh, that one, please. I'm not gonna lie, the reason I wanted it, know nothing about them, and then there's that football snobbery comes in, which is a separate team. We should be beating them, easy enough. We should be able to rotate heavily enough and still win. And like you said, if we got one of the stronger teams left, there was a possibility. Well, you say play our strongest team. I think there's also a possibility we might have thought, oh, we'll just bin this off a little bit kind of thing, and we could do without it. Whereas now, I think actually it feels like a really winnable tie across two legs. It gets you into into the next round, and without really impacting your Premier League fixtures as well. So I was all happy with it. Do you have any views on our upcoming opponents?
Well, I did what everyone else would have done. I had a Google and I looked, and they're second in their league, and they won the last one, but lost the one before. I don't know. I had a look at their players. I looked at their squad list just to see if there was, for this video, Geo, to see if there was anyone I recognised. I could say, oh, I know him, but I didn't know anyone. They appeared to have quite a few Croatian players in there, so I don't know if that's a sort of well trodden. I guess geographically it would make sense, but if that's a well trodden path for those players. But this is not the trouble is, Geo, with any of this, and particularly where we are now. And when I say now, I mean in modern terms. With not everybody, but a lot of people are very, very sensitive these days. Very sensitive at all. So, for instance, when I thought, oh, maybe we can beat Brighton. Now, don't get me wrong, I might have been completely foolish, and I was definitely 100% wrong. But somebody said, oh, you've been disrespectful, and that's the problem. It's not disrespectful. If I said that nasty about Cyprus, that would be disrespectful. I'm not. But to say that West Ham, a Premier League team, should be beating a Cypriot team, it just it is right. You should be allowed to say it, really. So, yes, I've looked at their team. I've looked at the composition of their squad, and I think it should be a comfortable game for West Ham. And I am pleased that we have been drawn against what should be an inferior team.
And the one thing that might make you a little bit worried, I had a look at their home form, and the last time they lost in the league, in the Cypriot League, obviously, at home, was over a year ago, was in March 2022. So they're not too shabby on their home turf. They've lost 3 games in there since then. They've all come in the cup competitions, including in the Europa League. This year, Larnaca were in the Europa League. They finished third behind Fenerbahce and Rennes. They were the 2 teams that beat them on their home turf this season. So it's just what you maybe expect from a strong Cypriot team, as arrogant as it sounds again. When you look at it, you think they're winning their domestic games, but when they come up against European teams, they're getting beat. And you think that's what I would expect, probably, for them to be, top of the table. Like you said, they finished second. The league now splits into 2. And I have spoken to Stel, who is a big fan of Cypriot football, does a Cypriot football podcast, to get a bit of an idea on Larnaca. I got a bit of a history lesson, actually, as well as an insight into the current setup. Thoroughly enjoyed it. That video will be going up tomorrow, but it'll be on the end slate of this video tonight. So if you want a little sneaky peek, you can go have it. I thought it was fascinating. You can find out about why clubs prefer to pay fines for ultras fighting than sorting it out. Molotov cocktails getting thrown on the pitch. And just the history of our upcoming opponents as well. It was a brilliant listen, actually. I thoroughly enjoyed sat here listening to him. So you can check that out, because myself and Gonzo, our knowledge on them is non-existent. What's your thoughts on the competition, though? Because before we played the FA Cup against, I say Man United, but also in Brentford, you were a little bit dismissive of having the FA Cup.
Yeah.
But part of that reason was because we're still in the Conference League. But what's your view on this competition?
Well, look, I'd like to win it. Don't get me wrong, but not to the detriment of us surviving in the Premier League. I've got to say, David Moyes. David Moyes' excuses for losing against Brighton weren't tactical. They weren't. It was fatigue. He said, I went for it. These words, I went for it against Manchester United, and maybe the players didn't have an awful lot left. Okay, even if we just, to put personal opinion aside, if we just take him at his word there, then okay. Then clearly you cannot take this seriously if that's your rationale. Because if you take this seriously, because obviously even my own poor geography, I can tell you now that Cyprus is further away than Manchester, then they're going to be just as tired or more tired. So, and that means we're going to lose again heavily to Aston Villa. So he just can't do it. So with that in mind, I think we can't take it that seriously. What we've got to hope for, Geo, is that our reserves and the players that don't feature in the first team can get us through in these next two. If they can't, they can't. If they can, then great. And sort of hope, and it is hope, because you can't point to any real reasoning or any particular technical or even mathematical reason why we won't still be in trouble come the next round. But you have to hope that our league form has taken an upturn, and then we can take it more seriously. But at the moment, it's the least of our priorities.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. This is going to sound really stupid because of what we're doing in the Premier League at the minute. I still have hopes of winning this competition. I do. I still have hopes. And at the start of the season, I was quite confident. Oh, yeah, we'll go far in this competition. We can win this competition. Sure. I think we will win this competition. And obviously, between the group stages and this game, essentially, there's been quite a long period of time because we won the group. We didn't have to play the previous round. We've dropped into the bottom three. We've come out of it. We've dropped back in. We've come out again. And you look back at your prediction of winning this competition, you start to feel a little bit stupid. But do you know something? While I almost want to be apologetic for predicting to win this I'm not going to, because we should be able to win this competition. We have the squad able to win this competition. You won't change my mind on that. My opinion is we have one of the strongest squads in this tournament. And even disregarding our league form, we can still win it. But the problem is there will be a cost of doing well in this competition. And that comes, like you said, on Sunday afternoons in the Premier League, which is fatigue will kick in and whatever. And that's what happened last season in the Europa League. We did well in Europa League. We got to the semi-finals, but the league form suffered. And the difference is we went from 5th to 7th, not the end of the world, but this time we could go from 16th to 18th. Well, that is a problem then. So it's going to be a difficult one for David Moyes to navigate, but I still have desires of winning this competition, because if you were to offer me right now 17th and winning this, I'd bite your hand off for it. The problem is I've got no confidence on us winning it and finishing 17th, and I don't want the anxiety.
Well, either. It also means it also means you're going into the last day of the season not knowing whether you're going to retain your Premier League status.
Looking forward to a final. I think I'd get over relegation pretty quickly if we were to win this competition. I'd say, right, okay, that ideal, we're in the Championship, but I've just finally seen West Ham win a major trophy.
Sure.
And Europa League football and Championship would be fun, wouldn't it? Maybe we could use that to lure in the best talent from the Championship. Yeah, but look, we could pay the biggest wages, the biggest stadium, and you get to play Europa League football.
Yeah, I guess you're not really selling it to me.
Do you know, I think we've got to play 3 games a week if that was to occur, don't you? You have to play Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday.
I think it would absolutely mean there would be no promotion. Absolutely.
Anyway, I still want to see us take this seriously. I think it's hope. In such a crap season so far, this competition is a little ray of light, and I think that's important, because football for me is about hope. You start the season, I hope to win the FA Cup. Obviously, usually by the 3rd round, that's over and done with. But if you haven't got any, then I just don't enjoy it as much. I think hope is what keeps you going. And at the minute, we've got a little bit of something going on with this tournament, and I think it is a favourable draw. But let's talk about the team you want to see, Gonzo, for this one. This will be interesting. The only team news really is that, well, despite injuries and whatnot, is Flynn Downs and Ogbonna are both on 2 yellow cards. So if either of them get booked on Thursday, they will be suspended for the second leg against Larnaca. players as they were against Brighton, really unsure about Sufal. Fabianski's definitely missing. Cornet played for the under-21s on Friday, so we can only assume he's available for selection for this one. Mikel Antonio missed a game against Brighton as he felt his hamstring. We're going to assume he's available for this one, as is Thilo Kehrer, who missed the game at the weekend with an illness, so he should be back as well. So the goalkeeper picks himself, Areola, because we don't really have any alternative, unless you want to see Anang or Heggie in goal.
No. I'm more than look, goalkeepers shouldn't ideally get too tired.
I think he needs a little bit of. I always say match sharpness isn't the thing, really. Communication improvements between him and the defence, I think, is what they need. And in the games against Man United and Brighton, I think there's been visible evidence where there's been communication issues between him and his back four, in particular near Fagerd. So I think having Areola playing more frequently in the first team is not going to be a bad thing. I think he needs it. Your defence?
I think I'd probably go something like. I think I'd probably go with Thilo Kehrer at right back.
Oh no.
Or Johnson at right back, and in which case Kehrer would be in the middle at centre half. Next to him, I'll probably play Zuma, but only for a half, and then I'll put Casey in there, and then Cresswell probably at left back, something like that.
Ooh, okay. We're not too different, really. I've gone Ben Johnson right back. I think it's important. He had a shocker against Brighton. There's no getting away from it, but we've got to play him through it. I think this is a really good opportunity to get him back in and say, look, just go out there, put in a 6, 7 out of 10, do nothing wrong, make no mistakes. Don't worry too much about the offensive side of the game. You're not very good at it anyway. Just concentrate on your defending. Get the better of your man for 92 minutes and just get your confidence back up a little bit, because we're going to need him between now and then the season. And I think if you take him out because of his performance against Brighton, I get it. But you've then got a player who his last performance was an absolute stinker, and then you might have to play him against Aston Villa on Sunday. It's like, oh, in you go, Bet. No, I think you need to play him this game and hope that he has a better performance and just get his confidence back up again, because he was doing okay until that Brighton game. Kehrer and Ogbonna in the middle for me, because I think I'm working backwards for Villa here. You can guess what I want to see centre back against Aston Villa.
Sure.
So Kehrer and Ogbonna, and I agree with you with Aaron Cresswell. Again, we're going to have to play him at some point, and I don't really want to see him in the Premier League at the minute. So these competitions, he's got to cope with. The one thing that's maybe a little bit worried, I did this before I spoke to Stel, the Cypriot fan, and he said that their right winger is their main man, and compared him to Riyad Mahrez, not in terms of ability, in terms of style, in terms of what he's like as a winger. And he said that Larnaca's strengths are very much down the side of the pitch. They like to get the ball out wide, and they like to get loads and loads of crosses in, and they're just going to keep on overloading the box and keep getting crosses in. So that made me a little bit nervous after putting Cresswell down. But come on, he's one of the most experienced players in our squad. I expect him to suss it out pretty quickly, and I expect the West Ham coaching team to suss that out and warn these players that this is what they're going to do. Cresswell should be able to cope with anything that comes his way, bar somebody that's quicker than him. So yeah, that's my back four. Into midfield then, what would you like?
I'd play Sawyer at on the right wing. I'd play Flynn Downs and Potts in central midfield, and I'd play Maxwell Cornet on the left wing.
Way too much youngsters.
Whoever you play, then whoever you pick out that first team and they play in this game, be prepared then, in which case, for David Moyes to come back with, oh, he was knackered for Aston Villa. They all deserve dropping anyway, by the way. Anyone that played against Aston Villa, they all deserve dropping. Either side. So if you factor that in, actually, they deserve to be dropped, and they couldn't handle travelling to Manchester. So then this is what the manager's telling us. They couldn't handle travelling to Manchester. They're unhappy anyway. And so are they going to be any more happy? I guess Cyprus is nicer than Manchester. So probably disrespectful again. So yeah, I would. Yeah, I'm not overly interested in this. I
could tell that by your team.
Yeah. So.
You're a little angry man, aren't you?
Yeah, I am.
I can tell you. I've got over. I say got over it. I'm starting to forget about the Brighton loss. I think you're still bubbling a little
I'm
bit.
fuming. I'm fuming.
I can tell it's coming through. Well, who would your strikers be then? Because you're obviously going 4-4-2, which is going to give us so I'm assuming it's Scamacca and Ings, but at the same time, I think you might put Mubama in there with Scamacca.
It is, yes. Scamacca and Mubama, yeah, absolutely.
It's too much youngsters. I was ready to say you're practically throwing the game, but I think you're going to just say, yeah, I am.
No, I'm not. I'm not throwing the game. Scamacca should be worth more than all of their team combined, and would be. Cornet, there's enough in there to hopefully take this through to the next tie back at the London Stadium. If we put that team out there and then they get walloped, then I mean, honestly, with that team there, you'd be putting, I don't know, someone else can tally it up, between 50 and 100 million pounds worth of players on the pitch for that, maybe. I think that's fair. If we can't put a team out with that much, and then beat this team, then we don't deserve to be in the competition, quite frankly. And it is over 2 legs. You can then get them back to our place. When you get them back to our place, you have a gap afterwards where Moyes doesn't have to worry about fatigue levels. So as long as you keep it tight, you can get them back to London Stadium. You can play some of your preferred players. Don't worry about fatigue levels then, because a lot of them are going to get a rest anyway and pull it back. As I say, £100 million worth of players get to Cyprus and get thumped to such an extent that you can't retrieve the tie at your home stadium. We've got no business being in European competition.
You've nearly convinced me there. I'm not against youngsters being involved in the squad. I would like to see players like Lewis Orford at least on the bench on Thursday night. And I kind of get where you're coming from. It's a reaction team, right? Okay, drop the first team, give these youngsters a chance kind of thing. I think more my issue with it is if you were to do that, Mubama was the scorer, he still wouldn't be in the squad against Aston Villa because, nice one, mate, but back into under 21 should go kind of thing. I would like to see Downs, Lanzini, and Fornals in midfield, them 3 in there, which is 3 different players from Brighton and probably 3 different players from Aston Villa as well. But there's plenty experience in there. There's a lot of talent in there. Cornet on the left, I agree with that. I think this is vital. I think Cornet starting is absolutely crucial to this one because the one thing I couldn't really get my head around was Cornet not being on the bench for Brighton. I know we played 45 minutes the night before against Man City under 21s. I get that, right? But just on the off chance it was 0-0, 10 minutes ago, you tell me Cornet couldn't play 10 minutes just in case we needed a winner or even an equaliser. Maybe we're a goal down in the 85th minute. You tell me Cornet couldn't come on. Bear in mind, we have 2 keepers on the bench again. And there's 9 substitutes available. So even if Cornet was that one, which is I'm very, very unlikely to use you, I mean, you've already got that anyway. You've got 2 goalkeepers. One of them is incredibly unlikely to be used. It would take 1 in 1,000 things for that 3rd keeper to need to come onto the pitch. So I just didn't get it. So Cornet playing on Thursday is absolutely crucial because he's got to basically play himself into the squad against Aston Villa. No, just on the bench, put in a really good performance, get your sharpness up, and get on the bench for Aston Villa because we're going to probably need him. On the other side, I've gone with Jared Bowen because I want to win this game. I want to win. We don't need to thump them. I agree what you're saying, by the way. You can take it back to the London Stadium, and then we've got, after Aston Villa, we've got 3 weeks until our next Premier League game. We do have the second leg, but like you said, you can field your first 11 then. On the Thursday night. So I get what you're saying, but I want to win this one, and I think also I want to do service to the striker, which is Scamacca. Scamacca has to start. I think he will start, but for what it's worth, I think Moyes will start him. If he doesn't, I'd advise he just doesn't come home, really. I'd advise he flies back to Italy and says, right, bugger it, I'm not going to bother coming back now. You can find me as much as you want. I've got enough money in the bank. I'm just going to go back to Italy till the end of the season. So for that reason, I want Bowen and Cornet starting alongside Scamacca, given the best chance to get a couple of goals, play well, because Ings' shirt's got to be up for grabs against Aston Villa. Was it his fault he got nothing against Brighton? No, it wasn't. But everybody's shirt has to be up for grabs for Aston Villa. Every single one of them needs to be there to be won. And you've got to give some players like Fornals and Lanzini the opportunity to go out there and get into the starting 11 to face Villa on Sunday. Are you confident?
Yeah, I'm confident for this game. That being said, and anything can happen now. I mean, you won't get. We suspected it from what we saw against Brighton that he'd lost the players. You're now getting it confirmed because they're leaking. The players are now leaking stuff to their favoured sources. He's lost the fans. There's no doubt about that. He's lost the players, and but I still think we should have enough. He's going to. I mean, he's got absolute dissent. There's mutiny. Never mind dissent. It's mutiny. But sometimes these mutinous uprisings. I'll go back to 1990 World Cup, Bobby Robson. And the players just all got round and said, we're not having it anymore. We need to sort this out. And to be fair, and this may well be the difference between Bobby Robson and David Moyes, is he listened to it and he said, okay, I mean, you've given this example, more recent one with Ancelotti, but the one I always go back to is that one. And he said, okay, well, three at the back it is. We'll do that. They wanted to get more. There was a whole, people will remember, there's a whole sequence of things that they needed to get the best out of Gaza. We weren't getting the best out of our centre halves, a really good centre half called Mark Wright as well. And there was lots of stuff that needed to be done and it wasn't particularly happening. So eventually the players went and said, to get the best out of the squad, it's just not working. And actually England went on a really good run and got to the semi-finals. So mutinous uprisings can often be helpful. So I think that can happen. But I think we might want to save that rebellion for Aston Villa. But I still do think if you put these players on against the Cypriot team, they should be good enough. I would also, I think it is the Scamacca one is a really important observation there. That's why I'm going 4-4-2 entirely for Scamacca, because. And that's the reason I put Potts in there, by the way. Because if I was playing 3, Potts wouldn't be in there. We'd put Lanzini, we'd put Fornals in there. But, Lanzini's just a little bit lightweight for that role. They're actually quite similar, Potts and Downs there. And I think they can hold up the middle quite well. And we can get the supply from wide. I want to get somebody right close to Scamacca all the time just to try and G him up because we were going to need him. And I do feel there's an element of Moyes discarding players he thinks he's not going to need. It doesn't matter if they're unmotivated. It doesn't matter if they're in the doldrums, if I'm not going to use them. But actually, it's that what you just described with Maxwell Cornet. It's that player you might only need for 5 minutes in a game to coming on late that makes the difference. Now, everyone's got to feel that they've got a chance. Everyone's got to go in with their peckers up, basically, and thinking, oh, okay, I'm in with a chance. The manager rates me. You cannot have a number of players there utterly depressed, and that's what we have at West Ham at the moment, and lacking all sort of belief and faith. Whether you and I think that David Moyes has the minerals and the tactical nous to take the team forward, that doesn't really matter. That the players have to believe that David Moyes has some tactics that can work and have to have belief that if they play well, they can get into the team. This is fundamental and basic stuff. And I think he may have even lost that. However, for some reason, I am still confident we can get through in this tie. And not necessarily this game, but in this tie, I think we go through to the next round.
How sad is this? The last 16 of a European competition that we're one of the favourites for the bookmakers to go on and win, and you're using words like rebellion. It's just a sad state of affairs, really. I am confident because the one highlight this season, there's not been many, but one of them has been our form in European football. We've played 8 games of European football and won all 8 so far. And Moyes has, while we have been poor in the Premier League, Moyes has navigated us with some very, what I would describe as professional performances in European football, where we win 2-0. The keeper doesn't have much to do. It's not very exciting. We're not playing them off the park. We're doing what we have to do. And we're winning because we have better players. And you'll get away with that in some games. I think this is one of those where I think you'll get away with it to some extent. I think it provides. I think this game is a really good opportunity for West Ham and Moyes to just get a comfortable win. Like I said, nothing fancy, clean sheet, 1-0, 2-0 win, get back to London with it, and just enough to boost the confidence a little bit, boost morale around the team a little bit ahead of that game against Aston Villa. Because that European run we had last season, you could see how much the players were enjoying it and whatever. And we've heard Declan Rice speak about it recently when last season, and Martin O was speaking about it as well, they'd get back late at night into Stratford, and they'd order McDonald's in, and they'd be sat in the hotel room, and they would say there's just, they were on cloud nine. It was some of the best times they've had. Martin was at that club forever, and he said some of the best times he's had was last season in that European run. They were sitting there with their Big Mac or whatever, just having a good time, and I just hope that's something the players can do. They can go away and enjoy it. But I do feel confident for this one, because there is a level of arrogance. I appreciate that, but I'm going based on what I've seen from West Ham in European football, and I know that our league is not going well, but it wasn't going well when we were playing the group stages of this competition either. And I know Larnaca's in the knockout stage. You could say, well, they're better than what we played in the group stage. I'm not convinced. I think I would put them on a similar level to the opponents that we faced in that group stage. This is only the second time a Cypriot team's ever made the knockout stages of any European competition, which shows the level they're up against here. So, yeah, I'm feeling good. I think Moyes will put out a strong team. It might not be our first 11, but I don't think it'll be far off it. I think it'll be maybe 6 or 7 of the boys who started against Brighton. I think we'll start on Thursday, because Moyes can't afford to lose this one. He won't get sacked. Even if we got beat, he won't get sacked, because, like Gonzo said, it's a 2-leg tie. So you'd say, oh, yeah, we're still in the tie. You'll get away with it. But he can't afford to lose it, because people will turn up on Sunday grumpy. Before that whistle's even gone, the fans will turn up grumpy. I think they're already going to turn up grumpy anyway. But a comfortable win might just increase a little bit of optimism or the mood ahead of Sunday's game against Aston Villa at London Stadium. Gonzo, any final words from yourself, as well as your all-important score prediction, please?
No, he's got to use this to his advantage, and it's not even in terms of progressing in the tournament. As I said, that can be done the second leg. The advantage here is to try and use this to convince those players that he has a cohesive strategy and a way forward, and that he can turn things around. That's everything. Everything comes down to that now. He has to somehow instill some belief in the players and get the players to believe in David Moyes again. Without that, we're screwed. We are screwed. If the owners are going to do nothing, then we have to really hope, and it appears they are going to do nothing. Then we have to hope. We really do have to hope that David Moyes can somehow listen to somebody, some confidant, some trusted friends, a backroom team, somebody who can just dissuade him from his sort of, his course of destruction, basically, at the moment, and just change something and use this tie to revitalize something, be it tactically, something in the team, to get some sort of feel-good factor in, to let the players know, look, guys, I'm listening. I listen to you. I hear you. We're going to change the narrative on this one. We're going to go for it from now.
But I think this is the problem. He could turn up on Thursday, and unless you go for it as a very vague description here, right? It doesn't mean throwing the kitchen sink. I know what you mean, right? But say we do turn up on Thursday, we do go for it, we get a little bit of the Nottingham Forest performance where we win comfortably. The problem is that doesn't follow through to the game against Aston Villa, and we know that. We know we will not play the same way against Villa, and I think that's the biggest issue here, where Forest, I wouldn't say the shackles were off, but it was almost like a little bit more adventure in the team, a little bit more front foot, and I think we'll do the same again on Thursday. But it's then Villa. Oh, no. We're not doing that.
But this is it. I understand. But this is where it comes down to the frank conversation between him and the players. And that's where the players to turn around and say, well, to be fair, when he says that, we've been here before, mate. We did it before. We've been here at the Forest one, and you said all this stuff. And then you reverted right back, because we had this meeting, we had this fallout after the Tottenham game, which is if what you believe to be the truth, and it's come from more than one source now. That's when it all happened, after the Tottenham game. You said this before. So don't give us, and that's why the frank conversation, it has to be had. So the players to turn around to David Moyes and say, don't give us all this crap about, we'll give it a big one in the Conference League against the Cypriot team, and then come and have us parking the bus and 10 men behind the ball. If this is a new ethos, if this is a new strategy, if this is the new feel-good factor, the new pink and fluffy Moyesy for the rest of the season, then let's do it from now until the rest of the season. And if we're going to go down, let's at least go down trying, because at the moment, we're surrendering. We're timid. We're meek. We're scared, and we sit back and we're petrified. At the moment, you've got a manager putting out that you could be as detailed as you want about the tactics in terms of formation. But I'll tell you what the tactics are: petrified. They're petrified tactics, and we have to stop doing that. So this is the key now. Let's start and get on the front foot, and then let's have him carry on.
Sounds like the players are petrified of the petrified tactics as well.
They are.
The one thing I will add is about, using your squad and stuff, and it's something I've seen from Stephen Colker, and I know people are going to go, yeah, he's a top player, and it doesn't really matter. He's been there. And
sorry, who?
Stephen Colker.
Centre back used to play for Spurs.
Yeah, he's been in Premier League and stuff like that. So while he hasn't gone on and achieved things of greatness like Roy Keane and whatever, he's still done it. He's still achieved what he set out to do and played in the Premier League. But I've seen something from him ages ago, and it's always stuck with me. And I thought it was fantastic. And he said the worst thing he's ever seen a manager do. He said managers will get tactics wrong, substitutions wrong. So what? You can fix that in the next game. No problem. He said he's seen players do individual errors, etc., etc. He says it's not a big deal. It's one-offs. You can fix it. So the worst thing he's ever seen as a footballer is when the manager has a team of 13 players. That's it. He's got his 11 and maybe 3 or 4 others. And then he goes to call upon number 14 and 15. They turn around and go, no chance, mate. No. So Stephen Colker said the best advice he would ever give to anyone is to make sure you've got a squad, because you're going to need them. You don't know when you're going to need them, but you're going to need them. Yeah. That second choice left back, while the first choice one's doing really well, you might think, I don't need that guy. You'll exclude him. You'll forget about him. But eventually, suspension or injury, lack of form, you're going to say, in you come. That guy's going to turn around and go, no chance, mate. I'm not playing for you. You've left me out the team for the last 6 months.
Yeah.
So that was what Stephen Colker said. And since I've read that, I thought, well, that's interesting. And to be fair to Moyes, I think he's done quite well with most of the players over his tenure here, including them, like Fernal's at the minute, it's out, he's back in, he's back in. Lanzini could have done a bit more football. But this is where the lack of inclusion of Scamacca at the minute, and Cornet and stuff, and Vlasic last season, you're starting to think, you've got to be careful here. I think this is a good opportunity to get some of those boys on the pitch, get them some important game time, because this is an important competition. And you might just discover 1 or 2 things ahead of the game against Villa. You might get a man-of-match performance with 1 or 2 players. You think, actually, I need to include him against Villa. I can't drop him now. But I'm feeling good for it. So, what's your score prediction? Sorry.
Hard to say, isn't it? Because I don't know what teams we played. I think we win 2-0 or something.
Yeah, I think so. I think Larnaca 0, West Ham 2, and I'll take that. If we can win and keep it clean sheet, I'll be buzzing with it. It'll be really, really good, really positive stuff. Anyway, myself and Gonzo will leave it there. If you've enjoyed this preview, please do drop a like on it by clicking thumbs up. Helps out the channel. Subscribe to Hammer's Chat, and on your screen in about 5 seconds will be my chat with Stel from Mappa Football, discussing all things, Cypriot football, really. It wasn't just Larnaca. It's a history lesson. I'll tell you what, it's absolutely brilliant. Go have a watch.